And then he said, "You'll build one of them, sooner or later," and proceeded to beat the living daylights out of me. And you are sure that is exactly what happened? Yep. Well, alright then. Yeah, Yharnam hunters are a little forward like that. Have you heard that Sony is actually working on a Bloodborne animated movie? I did. Crazy to think Jacksepticeye of all people is helping produce it. He is a Bloodborne superfan, so it should be in good hands. True, but I bet he's never designed his own LEGO Yharnam hunter. To clarify, we are talking about a hunter who hunts beasts in Yharnam, and not the Yharnam hunter attire specifically. Correct. And yet you have all but forgotten your own, even though you posted a series of work-in-progress pictures of it on Twitter. That was all the way back in 2019. I wasn't even fully using Bricklink Studio yet. But I guess it's also because I don't really like the model that much. And why is that? Because it's just a pain to pose or do anything with. I was trying to replicate a style I had seen called Moodland scale, but adding coattails and opera capes was not a good idea. Even for larger models, such things are difficult to build around, much less at this size. Yeah. Before the advent of the mini ball socket joints in the mid-2010s, or mixel joints as they're also known, simple bar and clip connections were the de facto for smaller action figure type MOCs, like the izzo frame. The what frame? Izzo frame. That's what me and my brothers called it on account of its creator, Izzo from Brickshelf. They built small, posable mechs that could be piloted by a minifigure, with limb connections mostly made possible by the T-piece. Fun fact. The original use for the T-piece was for Technic models with pneumatic functions, as the center is hollow to allow for airflow. That's right, but since it's the same diameter as a regular bar, it has so much more potential, yet it remains as an occasional supplemental usage. My first and only T-piece for the longest time was as a dynamite plunger from the Alpha Team Bomb Squad set. In fact, as far as I can tell, LEGO has never actually used T-pieces for any kind of mecha, outside of the Vikings Fenris Wolf and an obscure blue robot promotional set from 2010. It is most likely due to their stability. I agree, similar to a case in 2022, when 3 of the Marvel mech armor sets were delayed for a few months after reports of a stability issue. Official images displayed a new design for the hips from previous years, utilizing 1x1 plate lamp holders and bars with mini ball joints. However, the final versions of the sets simply stack 2 1x2 plates with mini ball joints, providing an uneven but stable connection. This method would be repeated once more for the only other Marvel mech set of the year, before being replaced in 2023 by a brand new piece. A single plate with 2 mini ball joints on both ends, which would become one of the standard hip assemblies for future mechs. It is also interesting to note that after 2022, all such sets were no longer designed with elbows or knees. Saying that the old mechs had elbows is a generous way of putting it, but it's true. Do you think there is a connection? I don't know, but I do like the ability to put my figures in proper poses, and stiff limbs just don't cut it. Taking a moment to look at the torso, I must ask, why is there a single 1x1 round plate with open stud in there? It's to support the sideways assembly. Sometimes when building sideways, a half plate gap will be left underneath. Conveniently, the height of a stud is a half plate. What is inconvenient, however, is that the LEGO logo on said stud protrudes ever so slightly higher, meaning that it will cause strain on the above assembly. Is it a big problem? Probably not, but we can easily remedy this by using any piece with an open stud, which do not have a LEGO logo, and therefore offers a perfect support. In fact, this 1x1 black tile could also be swapped for such a piece, though it wouldn't change much of anything structurally speaking. You have made sure that your hunter is a sturdy enough display piece when possible. To compensate for the lack of motion, perhaps you could build a diorama to accompany it, like a desolate Yharnam street. I mean, that's not a bad idea, but it's not going on my to-do list anytime soon. Even still, we should note the array of accessories you were able to produce for it. That was an advantage of going smaller. It was less of a hassle to make so many. There's a saw cleaver, stake driver, and boom hammer, plus the torch, Hunter Pistol, and Hunter Blunderbuss. Not to mention both a regular Hunter and a capeless version with top hat, as well as a female version of each. Yeah, my usual make an unnecessary number of slightly different versions routine. But for my sanity, the instructions are only going to focus on the caped male hunter with a saw cleaver and hunter pistol. It is a tribute to the fact that you can build recognizable models even at smaller scales. True, with the prominent use of digital building, I tend to get a little carried away with what's possible, but this is a good reminder that a simpler design can still get the point across. I think an associated concept would be Impressionism. I suppose, though I'm not sure it directly applies here, it is something to note. And with that, I think we should take note of the time. Agreed. If you'd like to see more of my Yharnam Hunter MOC, you can find the gallery and instructions in the description. But that's it for this video. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.